Hello. I am Keith Gilmore. I serve as the president of Portland Psychedelic Society. We're a 501c3 nonprofit in Portland, Oregon, and we exist to steward community building and to provide education around psychedelics. And I want to talk about community today. So when we look around and as we move through the world, we see that the world we live in is in a quite disequilibrated state. And that's according to any metric that you want to assess that by. Certainly psychologically, spiritually, and societally. Psychedelics are boundary dissolving by their nature. This is one way of understanding what psychedelics are. They're boundary dissolving agents. And so, look at what we're facing here. The landscape regarding the cultural acceptance of psychedelics is rapidly shifting, which is a great thing. But what we're doing is we're taking something that dissolves boundaries implicitly, and we're introducing it at a time of unparalleled instability in the greater cultural system. So the question is, what could go wrong? And we need to ask ourselves what could go wrong when the necessary cultural structures are not sturdy enough to wield the weight of a complete and utter paradigm shift such that the psychedelic reemergence is portending. These structures are already buckling under the weight of consensus reality. So how can we expect them to hold the emerging awareness of a psycho-shamanistic reality that is totally alien to what most people know and understand? This is the question. The global economic system can't hold it. The political paradigm won't know what to do with it. The business world will profane it. And the healthcare system can't adapt rapidly enough to keep up with it. So I contend that community is the structure that can hold things together. This is my contention. And to evidence this, I want to tell a story. And it's a story of our world, its current state, where we went wrong, and what we can do about it. And this next part I wrote on 200 micrograms of LSD. So everything is vibration and pattern. Quantum mechanics and spiritual traditions agree on this point. If one can organize the vibrational pattern beautifully, it sings. This is obviously true in the literal sense of music, and it is also true in the way that the flower sings to the bee, or the smile in the child's eyes sings to its parents. The same vibrations and patterns that make up the psychosocial, bio-spiritual swarm that is me are found in all others and all elsewheres. Which is to say the material of essence is self-same across all modes of being. Therefore, it all must be able to sing together. The task is to sing a beautiful song. In other words, to orient one's vibrational essence such that singing is what occurs by virtue of one's existence happening. This is the target on the individual level. This is the heart of individuation. To make the song one's soul cannot help but sing be beautiful. It is as simple as that at its core. Things simplify when they converge on their natural center point. This is the elegance of nature. It is simple at its heart. And this is the nature of heart. That which is so simply true, it need not be explained. The issues come in facing the nature of reality as an infinite staircase of fractals. As deeply as one feels called to spelunk in a given chasm of one's curiosity, any further number of infinite spiral staircases will rise to meet them there. So, focus becomes the matter. Attention, which is the harnessing of awareness. When we're properly oriented, we wield our awareness to attend to that which is most important in a given moment. But the internet age has operationalized our worlds to capitalize attention gathering for its own sake. And then churning that gathered attention into ad revenue. This is the entire system of the internet. Obviously, the expense sheet at the other end of that tally is outrageous when it comes to the human costs. It's somehow karmically appropriate that this Psychedelics convention is taking place in the heart of Las Vegas, which is this nightmare clownscape that is somehow the pinnacle both of humanity's ingenuity and its debauchery. Everything here is bright and loud and sickly alluring and screaming for one's attention. Our world in general is a continuous stream of ubiquitous social media feeds, auto-playing episodes, same-day shipping, infinite free pornography, 50-foot billboards, single-use plastics, and 30-second TikToks. How can one even sustain the focus to practice singing one song of individuation when adrift in this inhumane cacophony? We're making it damn near impossible for ourselves, for nobody's benefit, and importantly, to everyone's detriment. And yet we keep choosing it. Even as we toxify the planet, render ourselves infertile, and embed microplastics in our every organ, we will do anything but cast out the preternaturally convenient dopamine vampire that is our contemporary culture. The truth is, we will not be able to move forward until we can look this absurd goblin of our collective creation squarely in its ugly face and say, I did this. I did this. I wanted it, and I'm still wanting it, even now, in the face of the horrendous realization of what I've done. I still want it. Knowing the innocent lives of every child on the planet is at stake, I still want it. I know how bad it is for me, and the plants, and the animals, and my children, and the oceans, and the collective foundational okayness of everything that humanity has struggled long millennia to be gifted the grace of holding sacred. I don't care. I need it. And I don't care. This is the rallying cry, papered and plastered on every visible surface of this Americana, post-industrialist, hyper-consumerist, obsessively fragile, neo-non-human, shamanic, dogmatic monstrosity of a glass castle that we continue to elect as the best place to house ourselves and all of the things we hold most precious in the year. I can't even begin to bring myself to conclude in writing the sentence that begins, "Wake the fuck." How many more lifetimes will we be forced to stare limply in the mirror of our own exasperated exhaustion before we buckle up and take the cold, hard reality with a chin? We made this happen. We created this world, and we continue to sustain it with each passing breath. And it is far beyond time to bring it to account. Now, what that even means for us is incomprehensible at best. How do we even begin to disentangle a centuries overstuffed junk drawer of cables and wires leading back to who knows where with such and such half-cocked initial intention? We could lose ourselves for 10 centuries more aiming fingers of land and do ourselves no favor but overcomplicating an already outright mess. We have no other option than to look in the mirror and do the adult thing that nobody wants to do because it's hard. And I don't even need to say what that is. When you take that honest look, you will tell yourself who that is. The vibrational pattern that is yours to orient will make that immediately clear. Your soul knows how to sing beautiful music. Nobody needs to teach you that. In fact, it cannot be learned. And I know in fleeting glimpses you remember it, but you forgot it. It's okay that you forgot it. I'm speaking to myself. It's okay that you forgot it. But your ever-living soul and the soul of the planet have not forgotten. You know how to make beautiful music. Please remember. You know. Can you imagine waking each morning to your neighbor singing the most luxuriously soul-enchanting music you've ever heard? The mere thought of it is a delight. That neighbor is you. You can be that neighbor. Help us remember. It's so hard out here in the cacophony. Please help us remember. Please help us. So this is the story. And if the target on the individual level is to sing a beautiful song, the target on the collective level is to create a beautiful symphony through the consonance of all involved beings. That was the symphony of community. Because in true community, you're part of an ecosystem. Your song is a note in a greater song. And in an ecosystem, every component interdepends on every other component. And there's no hierarchy of value, and there's no bureaucracy. A community recognizes that we inhabit the same bubble. So we better work out our discordances so that the symphony we're all forced to listen to is a beautiful one. And because we're constantly faced with the mirrors that others present, we're actually able to see our own blind spots and address them while held in the safety and support of the community. On the world scale, the negative externalities of improper action take some time before they're felt within the system. This is how we end up in the mess that we're in, because the scales are too large and the accountability is not there. So another lens to see the same thing through is the lens of integration, which is a term often mentioned in the psychedelic space. What integration means simply is being in integrity. This is what integration is, being in integrity. So, understanding the interdependence that being in community necessitates, I, as a member of the community, understand that I have to hold myself in integrity because the integrity of the whole community depends on my integrity. My community cannot be in integrity if I'm not in integrity, because a community is a collection of people. And I will argue with total conviction that the basis of true community must be love, which is absolutely central to the ethos of psychedelics. And I'll go so far as to say it's the reason that they're so effective is because they remind us of the primacy of love. And I'm talking about the deeply felt experience of love that allows me to embrace every single human being as my brother or sister. Love is allowed to be an ethos of community. While it has no border in the business world or the medical establishment. Even in the therapeutic domain, it's allowed only as an object of contemplation or a tacit understanding. If you're a therapist or a doctor and you tell your patient to their face, I love you, and you mean it, you very well risk losing your license. And these are the models that we're inserting the psychedelics into. I would go so far as to say, how could you possibly be an effective therapist or doctor if you don't love everything you uses? So any system that is not actively grounded in love is not capable of holding this enormous thing, which is the psychedelic way of being. It's not capable. So right now, we're at an interesting point where we have the opportunity to create a novel and psychedelic future. So what models are we going to choose? How do we want to do that? Are we going to fit psychedelics into these flailing systems? Or are we going to imagine into existence a harmonious system which is properly psychedelic? And that's a big ask and task. And I think to figure that out, we have to be figuring it out together in community. We can't allow top-down regulators to rubber stamp the only way of doing this, and we can't allow for perverse incentives to become the poison carrot leading the psychedelic wars to water. I think that the term community has been used a bit too frivolously in the internet age. So people become confused about what is meant when we say it. And because of that, the term has lost some of its sacred essence. The psychedelic community, we say. But it's not truly a community. It's really just referring to people around the world who have an affinity for psychedelics. And plenty of people in this community are out here trying to sink one another's battleships. A real community has a felt sense of kinship. It has a kind of soul. And we need to maintain the soul. If this movement loses that, it is done for. Only by maintaining that kinship and that connection to soul and the primacy of love will we be able to integrate psychedelics into society on a global scale. If we don't recognize love as the center of the mandala of psychedelics, this movement will not succeed. In fact, success of the movement can be nothing other than a significant blossoming of love in the hearts of humanity. Moreover, it can only be deserving of the title of a movement insofar as it is a movement of and toward greater love. The psychedelics are not the way. They are one potential way through our contemporary morass. And if we lay our cards carefully and appropriately, they are the best chance we have of threading the needle of our nearly impossible moment. Love and do what you will, says St. Augustine. The formula is simple. It need not be explained. You know how to love and how to sing. I love every human being that created this mess, and I love every human being who is unconsciously perpetuating it, myself included. May we go out and live what we already know to be true. That's what I have to say. Thank you.